Hello everybody. Today I'm going to be talking about the announcement that they have put out today for the balance changes adjustments. This has came out 5 a.m. my time zone, and of course I had an exam in the exact same day. So unfortunately I do not have any slides prepared to talk about it with this announcement. However, I'm going to be talking about this in depth. I'm also going to be talking about the second year anniversary balance changes in general and talk about whether or not they are very big or not. So if you found this video to be helpful, consider subscribing and consider joining the community server link in the comment section, and let's start with the video. Before we start the video itself, I just want to say one thing, okay, and that is something that in this video I was mentioning the fact that we will probably have a massive data download soon. The reason because is we had the datasets for Commander Special Week, and then like after that we had nothing. So I was predicting that hey, maybe they could drop a big data download, and it's probably going to be a very big data download. So that's pretty much it. I just wanted to point that out, and let's start with the notes that they have put out. The balance adjustments going to affect specific strategies and mechanics following the position during races. So for the first one, Umamusume using the frontrunner strategy will behave differently depending on whether there is another frontrunner in the race. So what this means is that if there is another frontrunner, the mechanics stay the same. They pace up, they try to compete to the late race, somebody rods and the other frontrunner loses. What this means overall is that they make frontrunners less reliant on running two of them. Because if you run a frontrunner, you have to run a secondary front, but you still kinda need to run a second front, solo front, even with this balance change. It's not really like an ideal thing. It's a niche thing, but it's better than you loading into a match and you only have one frontrunner and you just immediately lose because your frontrunner got unlucky matchup. So that is nice to know. The velocity decrease position adjustment will be adjusted. This is pace down mode, and pace down mode now is going to be less harsh compared to now. This is a very big buff for late soldiers and enclosers, because right now is if you hit a specific speed number from your skills, you just cut off that speed and you decelerate a lot. Now it's gonna be linear. So technically speaking, let's say I proc like as a two skills, I'm going to push up. Instead of just falling off instantly, I'm falling off gradually. So while in that gradual mode, you technically can still proc a different skill, and then you pace up again, and then you pace down again. You proc a different skill, it happens again and again. So technically speaking, if you proc enough skills, you're not going to be that far behind from frontrunners, which of course is very nice. And the frequency and mechanics position adjustment during race progression will be adjusted. This is more so on the pace chaser, late surgers and enclosers and how they interact with each other. The adjustment will be made to activation conditions following these following skills. We have Tetrasic Trick, which is the gold version of Trick Front, Trick Rear, and then the Frenzied strategies. So what is the change? The change is actually very simple. They do not proc on your own Uma anymore. Right now, if you try to use Trick Front, for example, it could proc if your front has rushed, which means that the skill is just voided, because what it is that if you are targeting a debuff skill on ally or like your own Uma, it doesn't do anything. So let's say I have my Mihono Bourbon that got rushed. That means that the skill does nothing and it's just wasted for nothing. Now it just only activates on the enemies. Does it matter? For Frenzied, it doesn't really matter that much, but for Trick Front and Rear and Tantalizing Trick, it actually can be a decent upgrade for these skills and could be actually more useful in general. In addition, the following will also be adjusted. The degree to which exceeds the proportion of the attribute exceeding 1200 effects on an Umamusume during a race. So what does this mean? Currently on the global version, nobody is above 1200 speed anyways, but this is something that happened in the Japanese version only, and that is on release, any stat that was above 1200 was caught in 8th. So if you had 1600 speed, that would only translate to 1250 speed. So technically speaking, if you were 1200 speed and then used it like a double circle green scale that give you speed, technically you are faster than an Uma that was 1600 speed, which of course was awful. What this does is that instead of it being 1 out of 8, it's now 1 out of 2. So an Uma that has a 1600 speed would be 1400 speed. So that is very big buff, and it's gladly addressed before we even got to Grand Life, which of course is very nice. Certain parameters that can be acquired in career events. So this is more like, this is technically a vague post, but I will talk about this and we will actually talk about it now. So here, let's pull up okay, Mihono Bourbon, because Mihono Bourbon is my Oshi and it's the perfect example. It's something like this. In the global version, if you have gotten like the Triple Crown secret event, yes, secret events exist, if you have forgotten about it, you get 15 guts over here, but that actually gets changed to be 25 guts instead in the future when this balance change comes out. This is just an example. There is a lot of Umas that have this, and of course that is something to be note of. As you can clearly see, this is 25 guts over here, which of course is very nice. One more thing that I want to talk about in this section is the New Year event and the Shrine visit. This is the beginning of the second year and the third year respectively. Those also, I believe, get changed to be better. They now give you more stats or more skill points depending on your choice, and of course here the top option gives you a lot more stats compared to usual. It just makes it more like, oh, I'm going to consider this or consider that instead of just going for energy every single time. Mechanics regarding the outing event. The outing event is going to be massively buffed. It's going to be pretty much like, oh, like it was like about a 10% chance, I believe. I don't remember the exact chances, but the data events in general, they could happen after you do a recreation. Now they have a very high likelihood that any of them will trigger, and of course if you get an outing and you get an event, that's extra stats, so that is of course very nice to have. And then actually something that I was not expecting, the mechanics of affinity bonuses and veteran Umamusume affinity bonuses. This is something that happened in the Grand Masters scenario, which is the second year anniversary for the Japanese version. What this means is that there is two things. The base affinity of most Umamusumes, which with each other has been increased. This is the Japanese version, and this is clearly Mihono Bourbon, of course. Ani's Fusion 37 base affinity, that is extremely high. In the global version, the base affinity for Mihono Bourbon right now is 32, 30, 26, 26, 26. If we go back to the Japanese version over here, as you can clearly see again, 37, 34, 31, and then 30, and then 28, 28, 28. So it's actually like nice to have the ability to have more in general when it comes to affinity. So here is a very basic example. Let's say you are going to be building like an army machine, and this is just a prototype for example. So here is how the affinity system is going to work now. Pretty much G1 races is going to be your primarily affinity source. So let's say you do 12 G1 races. It is going to calculate the base affinity from Senskai with Marazensky plus the total amount of G1 races shared. Let's say she has 15 base affinity with Senskai and she shared 12 races with Senskai. That is going to be 15 plus 36, which means is that Marzinski is going to have like over 50 affinity, and Tiamat Pro, let's say also 15, and with Senskai she's going to get like over 50 affinity too, and Senskai herself is going to have like a lot of affinity because you're getting the affinity from this parent, and also this parent over here. So pretty much, let's just say like the numbers without the base affinity. 36 and 36 over here because Senskai and Marzinski. Senskai with Tiamat Pro O, and then Senskai, let's say she does 36 races, she's gonna get from this Marzinski, this Tiamat Pro O, and this Kita-san Black. So she's gonna have like over 100 affinity. And the same thing could be said with the other side. And then when you factor in the base affinity, like over here, this is pretty much like over 200 affinity. And this is going to be about 194 affinity, which means that you're over like 350-ish affinity with this lineup. That is very insane. The highest end of parents that I get is about 220 to 250. This means is that the chains is going to be very, very big. So if you have decent grandparents already ready, you're going to have a very good time when it comes to getting good skills off of your legacies now, which of course is very, very nice. And then we have the certain effects from pure passion condition. This is going to be something related to Throne and Team Serious Guard. Basically, they are more consistent. They are going to have more turns where they are going to be active, and they are going to have less likelihood to exit out of the pure passion condition. So overall, this is actually a buff for Throne, which makes it a very good card for Siam 16 too. And then we have certain skills, conditions, and their effects. This is the second year anniversary balance change. I will have to go into in depth about this. This is going to be probably a very long video anyways. Certain race mechanics. I'm gonna be honest with you, I have no idea what this means. Certain skills detail text, only the text will be adjusted. Skills effect will not be changed. Adjusted skills. Keep it real, which is the Gold City unique skill, is going to probably get some text changes. I genuinely do not know what this means. Unless this is like the third year anniversary balance change and they just decided to put Gold City in here. If they do change Gold City, her unique skill right now, the original version by the way, how her unique skill works is that if you are in the middle of the pack in the mid game and you overtake somebody, yes, in the second half of the race, if you overtake somebody and you are between 4th to 7th place position, you get target speed increase in the Japanese version. In the global version, it's not really a good skill because the problem with this is that the acceleration part, you kind of tend to overtake somebody really early in the second half of the race, so it doesn't really do that much. But if they do change it to make it so that it procs on the when you overtake somebody and you get target speed increase instead, you actually can push up and actually get closer to winning. So if that is what they mean over here, that is very good of them. And that is pretty much it. When it comes to overall the balance changes, I still will have to go to the specific skills and their effects. But next up is going to be the bond levels. This is something that is also very cool. What this means is that for all of these names over here, if one of your Oshis is on this list, the bond level gets increased from level 10 to level 12. That means is that on bond level 11, you actually get the casual outfit of that Umamusume. So let's say you are a very big, I don't know, maybe like a Meiju McQueen fan, okay? You can now put her casual outfit in the home screen once you get to bond level 11, which of course is very, very nice. If you are having multiple Oshis like I am, you probably want to rush level 11 as soon as possible. That's pretty much it when it comes to the bond levels. Here is the second year anniversary balance changes. This is a lot. I will link this in the comment section, and I do not know who really made this. I just found it from somebody that gifted me this. So if you made this and we want credit, then you can have it. Just let me know. Anyways, let's go with the balance changes itself. Special Week's unique skill. What the change is that her unique skill goes from being a target speed increase to being a current speed increase. This is absolutely broken. Current speed is still like a Taiki shuttle camping just came out, but the current chip is beating is a medium CM, so she's not really that relevant for that. But this is crazy. Current speed of 0.35, it puts you on the new top speed immediately, and then once the duration is off, you put back to your original speed, but you're still accelerating, which of course is extremely strong. So if you overtake somebody early on, it's a very good unique skill now. It already was, but they made it a current speed increase instead, so that if you overtake somebody, you launch forward while still gaining acceleration. So by the time this unique skill wears off, you still have close to your top speed. This is a very, very strong skill overall, and Special Week is going to be very effective. Next up, we have Tokai Teo. Tokai Teo is very, very nice because here's the thing. Her unique skill becomes, instead of a condition, it becomes a precondition. If you have an overtake target and there is somebody that is blocking you from the ahead or like ahead of you for 1 second, and you are 5th or above in the late game, if you proc this at any point in the late game, the frame you touch the last straight, you proc this unique skill. It's very effective. However, Tokai Teo is still not really going to be that effective, unfortunately, because this unique skill still is extremely inconsistent. Next up, Ray is gonna be very happy with this one. It's going to be Lights of Vidal Valley from Fuji Kisuki. Fuji Kisuki now becomes pretty much Ogre Cap because her unique skill now procs in the last 300 meters if there is somebody that is behind you for 1 horse length for 1 second, and you are 4th or above, and in the late game. It's very effective. It's a very good defensive skill for front runners, because if there is somebody that is behind you and just about to overtake you, you can proc this skill. It's a 0.25 final stretch, final 300 meters skill that will proc very consistently now, because the amount of length is doubled compared to previously, which of course is very nice. Measure McQueen gets a completely new buff, and it's actually very crazy that McQueen get a balance change because her unique skill is actually very decent. Her unique skill now becomes 2 conditions. It depends on which one that you get to proc, but that means that she has a 0.25 target speed increase now from her unique skill. So pretty much what happens is she still maintains her old passive, but she gets a completely new condition, is that if you are on a long distance track, if you are on the final spurt and you are on the final corner, if you are not that far behind from the lead, you are going to proc the skill and it gives you 0.25 target speed increase. DDC was already a good skill for long distance tracks, and now it's becoming even better. So Measure McQueen also gets to be even stronger, which is of course nice. Baiwa Hayahira, I keep getting comments that people tell me that I say her name wrong, but I'm sorry, it is what it is. What her unique skill is now is that if you haven't been rushed, if you are 4th or above on the final corner in the late game, you are going to proc the skill, and that is going to be a 0.25 target speed increase. So again, more options and more skills that gives you 0.25 target speed increase, which of course is very nice. If you have been rushed, you still proc it, but you only get 0.15 or 0.35 if you are running Baiwa Hayahira herself. If you really like Baiwa Hayahira, her unique skill has been buffed, and of course that is nice if you are a Baiwa Hayahira enjoyer. Next up, oh boy, I am a very big fan of this one. I wonder who is going to be the next one. Of course, jokes aside, original Mihono Bourbon. Mihono Bourbon has been pretty significantly buffed, and which is like something very nice for me. Now she has two separate conditions, which of course is going to be nice. However, the first one is not really going to proc that often. But the biggest thing that has been pissing me off has been removed, and that is if you have rushed, you do not proc this unique. The back condition is still here, where if you have late started, you do not proc this unique skill, and both of them actually. But it still is something. So if you have not late started, if you are third or above on the final straight, provided that you have been on first or second place throughout the entirety of the race, you get 0.45 target speed increase. If you have not been on the top 2 throughout the entire race, you instead get 0.35 target speed increase. This is still a very strong effect, and Mihono Bourbon gets access to concentration for free in the Grand Life scenario. So overall, she is going to be very effective, and thankfully I'm very happy that she does, because the I want to run the OG version sometimes too, and maybe I'll run her in Grand Life. Rice Shower also gets buffed. It's a very basic buff. Instead of being it on the final corner, it procs in the late game, which of course is going to be nice. Then we have Ishine Flash. Ishine Flash is similar to Mihono Bourbon actually, where her unique skill was pretty much a copy paste for Mihono Bourbon until the second year anniversary balance change. What her unique skill now is that if you are not rushed, if you are third or below on the final straight, if you have been between 4th to 7th place position throughout the entirety of the race, you get 0.45 target speed increase, and otherwise, if you are not and you have it rushed, it becomes a 0.35 target speed increase. Very good buff for Aisha and Flash, and this is probably going to have the full effect provided that you have not rushed. Rushed, you probably want to get restraint on Aisha and Flash if you like to run Aisha and Flash. Next up we have Torsen Jordan. Torsen Jordan is going to be effective because now her unique skill is that if you are on the first place position and you have an overtake target on the final straight, you proc it, which of course is very nice, and it's not going to be that difficult to proc it anymore. Her unique skill previously had a very iffy condition, and it was like pretty much not going to proc most of the time. Next up we have Mishidoto. They just simply remove her condition, where you have to be on the corner and of course be third or below. That means that if she overtakes anybody in the late game, she procs her unique skill, which of course is very strong. And that means that Mishidoto and Special Week are very simple. However, for Special Week, I think Special Week is going to be better in general because current speed is generally better than target speed increase. But Mishidoto, for the big fans of Mishidoto of course, you're probably going to be happy knowing that your Oshi can proc her unique skill now. And then we have the Legacy of the Strongest, the anime Measure McQueen. They removed the HP condition and the order condition, which is your placement condition, and they also removed the behind the condition, which makes her unique skill proc much more. This is a very big buff for McQueen, and that is of course very nice. Then we have Miracle of Blessings from TM Opera O. It's a very simple change. Plus 1 second to her unique skill. Absolutely good and absolutely broken. Plus 1 second in long distance tracks is like plus 3 seconds in general if it's a 30,000 race course. In like Arima Kinan numbers, her unique skill goes from 4 seconds, time is 2.5, which is going to be 10 seconds total, to being about 12 and a half seconds. It's still a very good skill overall, and that means the inherited version is also going to be stronger by 0.6 seconds, from going to 2.4 seconds to 3 seconds. which of course is very nice. Then we have Festival Rudolph. She is going to have very similar thing to Tokateo, where her unique skill becomes a precondition, where if at any point she is in the late race, provided that she is 5th or above, and she overtakes 2 Umas, which is basically a pace chaser unique skill, on the final corner or beyond, she will get 6 seconds of 0.35 target speed increase, which of course is very nice. Then we actually have Ballroom Senskai. Ballroom Senskai gets one simple change. She gets double the acceleration, going from 0.1 to 0.2. The inheritance version goes from 0.05 to 0.07. For frontrunners, it's going to be nice. And of course, hey, more frontrunner buffs, because like we mentioned earlier, late surgers, pace chasers, late surgers, and enclosers got massively buffed with the less harsh PDM, which of course is going to be helpful for frontrunners. Then we have the Baiwa Hayahira, the Christmas version, which means that both versions have been buffed. It's a very simple change. What it is that it goes from the 4th to 5th place position, which of course is going to be nice. Then we have Wedding Mayana Toboggan. They simply remove the corner condition, which makes her unique skill proc from the final corner and beyond, which of course is nice. And then we have Rice Shower. She gets a very simple change, and that is in the mid game, if you are 2nd or below to 4th, I believe, in Champions Beating Standard, you proc your unique skill instead of having an overtake target time, which of course is nice. That means that in the mid game, Rice Shower is going to proc your unique very consistently compared to usual. And then for Valentine, Isha, and Flash, it's a very simple change, and that is she's going to proc her unique skill if she overtakes 2 people after the final corner, which of course is going to be nice for the Valentine version of Isha and Flash. Then we have a couple of skills that have been buffed. This skill is exclusive for Measure Dober, I believe, and the added change is that she gets speed from it. So in Kyoto Racecourses, Measure Dober, the original version, gets very big buff. Then we have Beeline Burst and Straight Away Adapt. They get a 0.6 duration increase, which means that they are almost as effective as Professor of Curvature or Corner Adept. Now for the skill Single Wind, which is going to be Russian Gale. This is the Russian Gale skill. What this is that it's going to now give you target speed increase, which of course is nice. Then we have a big buff for Bofa, or Breath of Fresh Air. Breath of Fresh Air now procs in the mid game, which means that it's almost as effective, or if not as effective as Swinging Maestro. Then we have Iron Well. Iron Well still is not going to be that good of a skill. What it is that it gives you lane movement, which still is not something that I would not recommend to go for anyways. Then we have a skill in Body and Mind, and Home Stretch Haste. If you thought Special Week is not, Special Week is very strong from her unique skill, you're actually wrong, because she has the gold version of In Body and Mind. What In Body and Mind change is that now it procs in the first half of the final spurt. So instead of it proccing on the final spurt or like the home stretch, it's having a guaranteed, pretty much, it's like Triumphant Pulse if it activates sooner. Pretty much. Oh, that's how I would describe it. It's a very strong skill, and Special Week of course has the gold version of that. Then we have the Rapid Disconnection. I don't really know which skill is this, but this is a late surger exclusive skill that procs in the a random point in the mid game, and you have to be between the first place to 9th place position. So that means that it has more leeway to activate. Okay. This is, I think, if I'm reading this correctly, this is on your left. On your left now procs in the first half of the late game at a random point, and you are 4th or below instead of 6th or below. So that means that on your left, nice nature. If you like gambling, now you have more likelihood to proc it. This for mild distance tracks and sprint distance tracks means that late surgers actually have a decent acceleration that can proc most of the time at a relatively good position compared to any random point, which means that on your left is going to be a skill that is you're probably going to lose to or win you a lot of more matches compared to usual. Then we have Reach and Gale. This is a gold skill that is exclusive to Hishi Amazon and Admire Vega. If you have entered the late race and provided that from the lead, if you are less than 50 meters, if you are an encloser in the first, like the first portion of the final spurt, you proc the skill. Now it's an actually decent skill instead of it being a worthless skill. Now it's actually a decent skill that can proc and give you some late game skill that will proc in the late game and give you some target speed, which of course is nice. Now we have Turbo Sprint. Turbo Sprint is going to be massively buffed, and this is going to affect Champions Meeting 16. And that is that now it procs pretty much in the late game, and that means is that it's going to most sprint maps have a long final straight. So now instead of it proccing like in the first straight, now it's only going to proc in the late game straight. That means that it has a very high likelihood that it will actually do something for you. That means that Turbo Sprint for Champions Meeting 16 might be a must run. I believe the next skill is Mile Maven. What it is that if you are on Mile in the second half of the early game, if you are 5th or above, you proc the skill, which of course is nice. I believe it's Mile Maven. I do not know which skill is this, unfortunately, but still, this is a skill that will be very effective for frontrunners and pace chasers for mile distance tracks. Then we have Obsession with Victory. This skill is a medium distance exclusive skill that procs in the final corner. If you have final corner or beyond, if you have overtaken 2 targets, you get target speed increase and some acceleration, which of course is a nice buff, a nice increase to our skill. Then you have the cooldown, then we have cooldown. Cooldown pretty much is going to get the same treatment as Breath of Fresh Air. Now it will proc in the mid game and long distance tracks, which of course is very, very nice. Then we have acceleration, which is actually a very terrible skill from the release of the game, but what it is now is that in the second half of the race, if you overtake somebody, you get acceleration. Is it a consistent skill? Not really, but it's more useful than not, which of course is nice. Then we have the Tokai Teo exclusive skill. Unfortunately, Tokai Teo is not going to have her evolution skills, so this is not going to be very effective. But in the second half of in the mid game, if the distance track is medium, you proc it. So at a random point in the mid game, you proc it. So that is nice. They just simply remove the order count. Then we have the skill named Pressure. What it is that if you have overtaken somebody in the late game, if it was a long distance track, you get a 0.15 target speed increase. Now it gives you some acceleration. The acceleration part is nice, but I don't know if this skill is still going to be effective. As for Second Wind, actually, Second Wind is funny because this skill has never been used for any front. But what it is that now if you are a front runner, at a random point in the late race, you use some energy or stamina to get acceleration. It's still not really a good skill in general, but hey, it's technically a gamble excel that you can get as a front runner. So it just comes down to your preference. Then we have Relax. This skill is going to proc now for the late surges and the random point in the mid game if you are fourth or below, which of course is going to be nice for the late surges, has a recovery. Then we have this skill. This is the Lion Wait for late surgers in the second half of the early game. Now it's, instead of it being fifth or below, I believe, now you can be fourth or below and still activate it. So it's still a good skill to, so it's a good buff to have on the late surgers. Then we have Come What May, which is a very interesting skill for the pace chasers, late surgers and enclosers. Now it gets more duration, which of course is going to be nice. On the final spurt, if you are between the second to sixth place position, I believe, or fifth, you proc the skill, which of course is nice. It has more duration, so that is nice. Then we have a controversial skill actually. I believe this is Cured Step and Tactican, of course. So now it procs in the first half of the early game instead of it proccing at a random point in the early game. So that means that technically speaking, it could activate as a groundwork earlier on, which of course is nice. Then we have Take the Chance skill. This is a skill that is only exclusive to the Wet Serious Symbioly card. It's a very niche skill. What it is that now it's pretty much getting the same treatment as on your left. Now it procs in the first half of the late race, provided that you are, I believe, fourth or below, and it has more duration and you get acceleration for it, so that is nice. Then we have Burning Soul. This is the Stamina Rudolph exclusive gold skill, and of course it gets more leeway to proc it. Now you can proc it, I believe, from 7th place position to 4th place position. So that means that you can actually proc it a lot more frequently compared to usual, and now it has even more target speed increase and it lasts for longer. Then we have Dauntless. This skill is actually exclusive to Speed Seeking the Peril card. I don't know why they keep buffing like very niche skills, but it is what it is. What this skill does now is that, again, it's much like the Burning Soul over here, where it has more leeway to proc and now it has more duration, which of course is nice. Then we finally have a skill called Full Throttle and Give It Your All. This skill, currently on global, is a 0.04 stamina drain, but instead it's 0.02, which means that for late surges this could be an actual skill that you can proc and use it, which of course is very nice. And then that's pretty much it. This is the inheritance versions of the skills. And yes, this video is going to be taking a lot more time, and of course this video has taken a lot because mostly I've been talking about the balance changes and go into in-depth, which are these skills. If you found this video to be helpful, consider subscribing and consider joining the community server, link it in the comment section. And of course, I apologize if I did not have any scripts or anything. It genuinely just came out of the blue and I just finished an exam. So that's pretty much it. I hope to see you in the next one.